Nicola Lutz from No Fluff, bringing you some sales hacks for schools that I hope will help increase your enrolment, and hopefully they'll be palatable too, because sales doesn't always sit naturally in an education arena. So let's go to it. The first thing I'm going to say is we need to follow up our leads, our inquirers, more than we are doing. Rarely do I encounter enough follow-up, and that's because we don't have much time. We think it's pushy, we think it's sleazy, we think it's just difficult, and we don't know what to say. And we can't say, did you get my email 5 times in a row? It's just not going to happen. So there are lots of barriers here, and I just want to smash a few of them for you, because first of all, I think we need to admit that follow-up is important. And if you haven't worked in a commercial sales environment, how would you know how many follow-ups is the right number of follow-ups? Luckily, I've done a lot of research on this, and there are many studies you can go and have a look up, but just pulling in a few of the statistics, excuse me, for you here. It takes about 8 touch points to convert a good lead into a sale, if you like, into an enrolment. So usually what happens in the schools, and in fact the agencies that I work with, is an inquiry comes in, which could be at an open day or an inquiry form or whatever it might be. The inquiry lands somewhere, and then we're nice, polite people, so we reply. All good. We give them a load of information. There are PDFs to download. There are web links to click on and registration form links and all sorts of things. But we send our best follow-up to that inquiry. Fantastic. And then if they don't reply, we may send another follow-up. Excuse me. We may send another follow-up then, saying, did you have any questions? Is usually what we say. Or did you get my email? Have you got any more questions? Something like that. Usually then that's where people stop. We figure out, we assume that they aren't interested if they haven't got back to us. And that's where we are losing money, frankly, because it takes around 8 touch points. 5 to 12 is the number. I like to aim at middle 8 ground. They are already really 60% through the sales process, if you like. If they have sent you an inquiry form, it's just about nurturing them and helping them along that journey to get them over the line. And this can take quite a while, especially for international students. There are some more hoops for them to jump through. So it's up to us to help them on that journey. But if there are only 3 touch points, so the website and the inquiry form, for example, the initial reply, and then did you get my email? Have you got any more questions? Reply. That's 3 or 2 follow-ups, really. So you're missing a few steps, and there's money to be made, enrollments to be acquired, and students to be helped. So if we can do it easily, why wouldn't we? I'll come back to that easily part, because I also want to stress that around 50% of people that inquire are not yet ready to go ahead and not ready to push the button yet. And if you think about when you make a large purchase of any kind, maybe a car or a holiday or a house even. Houses are another story though, maybe let's not go there, but let's say a big purchase like a holiday or a car, you're going to shop around first. You're going to look at reviews, you're going to look at websites, you're going to look at Instagram pages perhaps, but you're going to shop around. That's why they're about 60% through the sales process already, because then they've got to fill in a form, and nobody really likes filling in forms, so they're motivated. So it's great, and your admissions team just need to get that extra 40% to get the enrolments in. But when they inquire, they're probably not just sending an inquiry form to your school, they're probably sending it to a few schools. Hopefully just to your school, but let's not be naive. Let's assume that they are shopping around. It's an important decision and they have every right to, and the information is out there, so why wouldn't they? So they're going to be shopping around. They may not have decided exactly what they want yet. And those that have and that come directly to your school and inquire and go through without a hitch, they're not the ones I'm worried about. You'll pick those up. It's the ones that are leaking, if you like, and not getting the help that they need that I want to focus on. So 50% aren't yet ready. So when you went to look for, say, a new car, you probably did a bit of research first, looked around maybe at some dealers, and had to look at reviews, and you may even have checked insurance and some other things as well before you even kind of made an inquiry or went on a test drive, something like that. Now, we need to help our families, excuse me again, our families move from the kind of awareness consideration stage through to almost the negotiation and how do we get this thing going stage, and obviously through to enrollment. So we have to nurture them through that. That's what we're for, especially if they're looking at a full, it's a $250,000 investment, whatever it is. It's a lot of money, a lot of effort, and a really important decision for our most precious things. So they're not always just ready to go ahead within a week or two of their inquiry. So we have to nurture them to ensure that we're helping them with that decision, kind of owe it to them to help them along that journey. And those schools that excel at nurturing those leads, they are going to have a higher conversion rate, absolutely for certain, and they're going to get the best return on their marketing spend. So all that cash that's going into beautiful open days and graphics and brochures and online PDFs and email templates, social media, all of those things that are costing money in salaries and maybe ad campaigns as well. We need to get the best return we can. So every lead that comes in, we need to check that it is a qualified lead. That is, we need to check that it's the right fit first, or likely to be the right fit as far as we can tell. And then we're going to nurture them until really we think it's a no. And that can be done in various ways. Now, I did promise you, I said easily, didn't I? And there's always going to be an initial ramp up. So don't think this is just a button you can press and off it goes. If you have a CRM, like HubSpot or Salesforce, for example, you can use that to help with automations. Otherwise, you can still do this with a diary and an Excel sheet. It's not my favorite, but you can. So you don't have to invest thousands and thousands into fancy schmancy tech. You can just do this with a diary. So what we need to do is decide how many touch points we're going to have. First of all, I would recommend 8 follow-ups. Now, if they engage with you and you have a meeting set up and a consultation and tests booked and things like this, you come out of this follow-up map and continue along the same path. However, let's say they book in whatever tests they need, maybe for an international, might be an English test, for example, and then it just goes quiet. We've spent hours on this lead so far. We're not going to let it go there. You go back into your follow-up plan and you keep nurturing. Something's happened. We've lost them somewhere. And at this point, that lead has become very expensive to our schools. So we need to make sure that we can convert those and just help them along the way. Something's stalled them. We're going to follow up again. We're not just going to leave it, certainly, and not at that point. So what we're going to do is decide how often we're going to follow up a lead. Excuse me, how often we're going to follow up a lead. And at which stages, and that is bespoke to you, depends what your size of team is, what software you have. I would say at the beginning, you are going to follow them up more than later. So for example, the first 4 or 5 follow-ups would be, the first follow-up is always as soon as possible, fastest finger first. The second follow-up, I would put at maybe 2 or 3 days later, ditto with the third and the fourth follow-up. And then you might leave it a bit more, but just decide when you're going to do it first. Everyone in the team follows the same process so that we can test it and get geeky about it. And we're going to mix up the way that we contact them as well. So we're not just going to rely on email, which is the biggest thing I see. Get on the phone. If you're worried about it, I can help with that a little. Pick up the phone. They're lovely people. Very, very rarely are they going to think you're pushy and rude because they have inquired to you. They already are on board with this idea. So it's not pushy, it's helpful. It's also personalized, and we know that personalization is key, and that connection and reassurance is really important to those people. So pick up the phone. You can also use even direct messages, for example, if that's how they got in touch with you. First of all, you can use snail mail or post. There are lots of different ways that you can use it. You can also use your events, open days. You could have a virtual tour overseas. Lots of different ways to get in touch. So make sure you mix those up. And at each step, we're going to add a little piece of value. So we're going to say, give them some information, perhaps on uniform or success stories and testimonials from past families and students, not just the students themselves, but their parents. And if you're working with agents, past referrals from agents. What do they think about working with your school? So add value each way. It could be a quick guide to something. It could be a sample of the food that week. I don't know why everyone's obsessed with food, but that's the way it is. Send them photos of food. But the point is we add a little bit of value to make it easy for them to engage with us. We're not selling at this point. We're just engaging to try and get them back into our lives. So that's the how, and we're going to give them a very simple call to action in each of these touch points, which is to speak to you, to book a call, to reply, whatever it might be. So just map it out, decide what you're doing, and then go for it. So we're going to include more follow-ups. That's the biggest thing you can do. Even if it's just one more, just do one more follow-up than you are doing now. Just one extra call, and that will make a difference in your school. So that is my sales hack for the day. Follow up more. Excuse me, I sound teary, don't I? Follow up more. Just do one extra follow-up than you are doing now, and ideally by phone. Let's make it personal. It's a big thing that they're doing and a big step that they're taking. So I wish you all lots of luck with that.